And that's the challenge for people is A, they don't believe they can do it, but B, you're actually okay with where you're at. So there's a day like I was going to be okay is okay as long as okay is okay and okay is still okay if okay is okay. But as okay is not okay, it's not okay anymore. I just say average sucks. So if you're at the gym and like, how'd I do today? Was it your average workout or was it your best? Actually, it was leaning towards my average because if it is your best, well, then you can't get any better. And that's the problem people have is like, that was your best. Okay, then you're done. That's it. You've maxed out. That's all you get. So I think a lot of people have to accept the fact that you will always have an average in your life. Every successful human being has an average. Every person has an average of what they do, what they make, what they do. The question is the average you have the one you want, or are you settling for something?
Welcome to the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow, where we get inside the minds of today's leading viral marketers as they reveal the exact strategies they use to build brands, products, and campaigns that are magnetic to customers, spread like wildfire, and seize the attention of millions. This is Viral by Design.
So welcome to another episode of Viral by Design. I'm so excited today to be joined by Michael Bernoff. He's the author of Average Sucks and an expert in human interaction technology, which sheds light on subliminal psychological triggers that impact people's performance. He'll help you leave your average life behind to experience great financial wealth, physical health, and a deep, lasting sense of confidence, both personally and professionally. As the founder of Human Communications Institute, Michael's helped thousands of people to transform their lives through events, audio seminars, and one-on-one coaching. So Michael, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
I'm thrilled to be here, Dave. And I love that intro, man. I hear that and I'm like, all right, there's a lot. We got big promises for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, I know, obviously we discussed before the call, you've helped so many people in our industry alone, and you've done so much kind of really cool stuff. I know the first thing I want to dig down into is your tagline, which you're really known for, which is average sucks. Obviously something which is like really kind of jolting, pattern interrupts, and like it's big, right? So can you kind of give us an idea of like how you got to that in your life, what your kind of backstory is roughly that led you to that?
Well, what's interesting about it, I get a book, I wear the shirt, I wear average sucks. It's my license plate on my car. It's AVG-SUX. And I get people stop me all the time and they're always like, oh man, love you. It's one of two things. You get a weird look, which that's okay. Or number two, you get people saying, oh man, I love your shirt at the airport, especially pre-COVID. At the airport, everywhere I'd go, people love it. And I'm like, why do you love it? And they're like, oh, you got to be better than everyone and you got to go for it. And things are blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's great. That's true. But do you know what it means? And they're like, well, no, I don't know what it means. It says everyone in life has an average. You have what you do and what you wish you did. You have an average you spend on ads. You have an average you make in a year. You have an average amount of times you're intimate in a year, average amount of times you work out if you looked at your life. And most people live their life based on their average, not their best day, not their worst day. So if you're okay with your average, great. It doesn't have to suck. But most people, when they actually think about it, say, you know what? I'm playing way lower than I'm capable of. So what average is your natural tendency as a human being to be the average of yourself versus the full-blown full version of you. So that's what I really love about it. That's why I'm direct, I'm to the point, because as a society, we've gotten pretty damn average and we are trying to be like Kim Kardashian and be like everybody else instead of how do you be full version Dave? How do I be full version Michael? How do you be full version Bill? Because who'd you look up to when you were a kid sport-wise? I know football, soccer is your big thing out there, but like, what'd you play? Did you play sports at all when you were a kid or anything?
I'm not really a sports person, but having grown up in Liverpool, then I was definitely, coerced into following football. So I'd say potentially Stevie Gerrard.
Okay. So you look at this person, you're like, I want to be like them. Or in marketing, people have like back in the day, I want to be like Dan Kennedy, or I want to be this leader, right? I want to be Tony Robbins, whatever. And then my question is, why do we have to look up to other people when if you were to be full version of you, you don't have to look up to Michael Jordan. You can admire them, you can respect them. But if you look up to them, you're putting them on a pedestal and you're putting yourself on the floor. So I truly believe if human beings played their full version, their average would be a way better life. So that's the quick version of, yes, a pattern interrupt. That's why I'm big and adamant about it.
Absolutely, man. It's a great concept, let me get your thoughts on this. I think that so many people leave so much on the table in terms of the success and what they do in life and what they're capable of in life, because they're kind of afraid, right? They're afraid of what other people will think of them, or they're afraid of what might happen if it goes wrong and that kind of thing. Do you think that's the case? Is there like a way that people can get past that quickly?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what happened. So it's really interesting, the world right now. I got to tell you, like, I'm not going to get into politics or anything right now. I'm just going to say how weird the world is, right? Let's just call it what it is. How old are you? Do you mind if I ask?
I'm 32. Let's think about that.
Okay. So I have no idea about England. I've been there for a minute. I've never been there for a week of my life total. So I have no idea. I can't speak for anywhere in Europe. I've been to Brazil. I've been to a few places, but right around the 1930s or 40s, I'm going to bring this up right now. They came up with a concept. Again, I don't know how you grew up, but maybe you can help me with this. And they found a time, they said, we got to find a way to make people feel comfortable because we just had a depression, a world war. Europe is destroyed. America, half of the men died. Does that make sense? Or whatever it is, like the world sucks. So we got to get people to feel safe. So they invented something that never existed called the middle class. So if I were to take the show we watched in the States when we were kids called Little House on the Prairie or Braveheart for you guys when you were younger, like rich, poor, that's it. You either lived on the countryside and your ass was poor, or you were rich and you lived in the castle, right? There was no in between. So for 30 years, this concept of being in the middle worked for people. So when our parents, did you grow up middle class? Did you grow up did you grow up okay?
Yeah, I'd say low middle. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you grew up okay. Like, did you have shoes?
Yeah. Certainly had shoes.
Did you have a school you could go to?
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to worry about things. You didn't grow up like out in the country, like Braveheart trying to figure this shit out. Does that make sense? Like you weren't in Scotland back in the day and trying to figure it out because everybody's trying to kill you. So what happened is the world got super comfortable and people got, I don't want to say lazy, but it worked. So in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even the beginning of until about 95, people could get away with being average. There was enough money to return in bank accounts. You still had to walk places. I couldn't just get a bottle of water. I had to go to the sink. I had to get off my ass. McDonald's wasn't trying to kill you. So what I'm saying is human beings could be average and still get ahead. Nowadays, the old formula, the old plan of just be okay and everything will be okay is a crock of shit. So the reason I'm saying that right now is if a human being wants to get ahead, we need to stand out. Like your video stuff, you got to break patterns. You got to stand out. You've got to be outside of the box if you want a different life. So average used to work. Yay. Congratulations. Too bad it's 2021 now. And it's a different world. So I don't know if that answers your question, but yes, people can get out of it. And if you want to answer it again, that was my ADD kicking in.
No, I love it, man. Like I absolutely resonate with everything you say. And I think, the really important thing, which I've learned over recent years as well, is that actually, it's often quite contradictory. Like when you put yourself in the face of more adversity, of like more crap, it tends to be, you grow through it, you become a better person. It's actually tremendously fulfilling. It's like this weird thing that you kind of have to go through a wall of pain to experience what's really worth having on the other side, right?
Well, think of it this way. What'd you do before you were an entrepreneur? I know you've got a great success story. I love it. You did what you did in 15. What were you doing prior? I know you were young, but what were you doing?
Yeah, so I was a touring rock musician for a bunch of years, and then I did.
Nice. What kind of rock?
So gypsy punk rock, would you believe? As a punk rock violinist.
Nice. You still play?
Yeah, and every now and again, got the old violin right up there.
Oh, that's gorgeous. No, that's really cool. Yeah. So you were in a band.
Yeah.
You toured and you struggled, correct?
Yeah.
Because I read Pearl Jam's book and the shit they went through. Guns N' Roses, they lived in. They were my heroes growing up. You know that, right? And you're young. I know, who knows these days, right? And they lived in a U-Haul place. They lived in a container. They put 4 beds inside of it. So how do you make it big? You got to go through challenges. So a lot of times you look at someone, you read their story, they're like, oh, dude, look at this guy, man. Dave went through so much and he succeeded. It was hard. He played in a bar. We made $1 that night. Car broke down. I know your stories. I can guarantee you all of that happened, right? Yeah. Car broke down, trailer broke down, stole your equipment, got robbed, everything, right? So then you become an entrepreneur. And how do you succeed quickly is you've already been through that crap. And I think one of the things people don't recognize is they say to someone like you and I that have worked hard, go, I got it. The secret of success. You've got to work hard, which is true, but it doesn't have to be hard. And that's what a lot of people want to make it. They want to make it hard so they've got a story versus do the hard work. And that's a different analogy. It's a different psychology. So it's fascinating. I look at the backstory of most successful entrepreneurs, and I found that most of them have succeeded because they got big problems in other areas of their life they had to overcome, challenges. Mm-hmm. They weren't average.
Yeah. So, because you work with some seriously, well-known people, at least.
Yes.
Anybody regards to the market would know a bunch of them. So, what do you think it is for them? Like, is there a moment of realization where everything just kind of clicks, or what is it that kind of is usually the inception point for like moving past that, like trawling through 14, 16 hour, 18 hour days?
Are we talking about marketers in particular?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Most of the really great marketers that I've ever met, they sold things in the past, meaning that they were in sales. They're good at marketing now, but they got their door slammed in. They sold meat door to door. They sold merchant accounts. All the people we talked about earlier, which I'm not going to throw names out there, almost all of them did what you did. You're a salesman when you're in a band, right? You're selling a pub and letting you play. Am I correct? Yeah. You're calling a local spot that doesn't really want you to be there, or that doesn't want to give you much, and saying, can I do this? So I think one of the areas we need to recognize is we do need at some level to understand sales. We think we could skip that part. And I recommend almost anybody to get some level of face-to-face sales experience, because if you could sell face-to-face, writing copy and making videos gets very, very easy. That's my background. I owned a boiler room at one point. I owned a call center.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely, man. Because again, like something else that I've kind of discovered over years is so many people talk about funnels, because Russell, who obviously is somebody that you worked with in the past as well, so he has massively popularized this idea of funnels. And I think there's so many people in the marketplace now that just think, oh, I build a funnel, I get rich, right? But in reality,
it doesn't work that way. Aren't we all one funnel away from being a billionaire?
Apparently so. That's what I've heard. But then in reality, with a funnel is essentially you're just recreating one of those real face-to-face sales experiences, right? You're just trying to turn it into something which is automated so you can scale it.
Yeah, that's pretty much so. Like when I think of the word funnel, I remove that. We don't even use the word funnel in our company, because the same reason I don't use the word workout. Workout means to me something I don't really want to do that I force myself to do, so I train. So we don't use funnels. We use a term, communication method. And one of the communication methods we have, so we're building a new communication method with people. We don't call them numbers. We don't call them SKUs. There's humans. There are really nice people on the other end of a computer, even people listening right now. Like, how would you feel listening? You people listening right now, if I just said to you, we're getting 19 subscribers a minute. Like, you don't want to be a subscriber. You're a human being with a family, with a dog, with a cat. So we call them communication, because that's the big thing. That's the most powerful word on the planet, mechanism. So we built a communication mechanism. We draw it up on the wall, which you could call it funnel. Don't get me wrong, but do we really want to funnel people, or do we want to find ways? So think about it. You're sitting down with your team and just think out this simple shift. We're not going to call funnel anymore. We're not going to call it closing anymore. We're going to say influence instead of sales. How do we influence people to get in front of our communication mechanism that allows them to hear and understand, lower resistance, increase receptivity, so they can actually hear the message and we can help them? When we look at it like that, the creativity goes up. The desire to sell and force people to buy things eliminates. So we build long-term customers. There's a reason we've had 14 chargebacks out of 150,000 transactions in 20 years. No one can say that, and we can.
That's incredible, man. And I think that's one of the things I really love about the direct response world that we're a part of, is that there's so much creativity like this, and There's so much like agility in terms of being able to deliver experiences like that. Absolutely resonate with what you say about funnels. In fact, I remember the first time I ever came across ClickFunnels, or a ClickFunnels page. Somebody had an unmasked URL, and it was their subdomain.
And it said ClickFunnel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, am I being funneled into something? And just, you saying that now reminded me of that experience. Like, I don't really feel like great about being funneled into things. So that concept you said about, like influencing people to be part of that system is just, way, way more effective. So one thing there as well, which, you touched on, is how that kind of impacts the creativity within your team as well. I'd like to hear a bit more about like how you work with your team, how you kind of filter down your brand values, what your brand values are, and the kind of culture that you create.
Yeah, so we believe that communication is the most underdeveloped and underutilized asset we have as human beings. So we treat it like some people have their thing they believe in. We believe in communication. That is our number one word. We believe in communication. So we believe before someone pulls a gun out on someone else or on themselves, there's a form of communication occurring. And how they communicate is what they do. We believe that a person that either gets married or gets divorced is a form of communication. We believe that when we send an email, it's a form of communication. We believe sleep is a form of communication. We believe that breathing is a form of communication. We believe the most underdeveloped and underutilized thing we have in life is communication. So how do we teach people that? That's not how do we sell somebody something? How do we get human beings to buy into the idea that dedicating the rest of their life to some part of it to work on their level of communication will change their spirituality, will change the relationship with their children, will change the relationship with themselves, will change the relationship with money? Because at the end of the day, we got all this crazy stock stuff going on that'll date the video right now in the States right now. I'm sure you're watching it, right? And I love investing, right? To pull the trigger, to hear crazy Elon Musk recommend something to me in 2016, he communicated with me because I own his vehicles, and he communicates with me and says, this is good. Get a car like this. And then I'm like, maybe I'll buy some stock like this. So to have the courage to pull the trigger to invest in something you may not get your money back on is a form of communication. So we believe that. So whenever we go into a meeting, the first thing we do is we get really clear on what we're doing. It's our outcome. Like, what is our outcome? And we have to really remember the message. So it took a while to play with that book, Start With Why, like to figure out like what our why is. But our why is that your future hinges on your ability to effectively communicate. So if someone wants a different future, we got to start with the way they communicate with themselves. And that's where we begin. You might have it with marketing. You might have it with traffic or funnels, or someone listening might have it because they own a gym or they're selling nutritional products. But what I love about communication is all of the things you do revolve around communication. So that's how we sit down. We really talk about that. And then we say, what is the greatest way to deliver this with the least amount of resistance and the most receptivity? How do we do that? And then it gets the brains, and we lay out our stuff. Like, we've got text, we've got email, we've got video, we've got this. And it's like we lay it out and then we play with the different pieces. Does that help? Does that answer the question? It's kind of fun.
It's brilliant, man. I absolutely love it. And, because there are so many methods with which we can communicate now, right? In terms of automations, in terms of platforms that we got, in terms of formats of media on those platforms as well. And I think, all too often people get stuck down into the new, obviously the age-old, almost cliche term of shiny object syndrome. So, okay, cool. So this new platform exists, many chats and message people on Facebook. Okay, well, I'm just going to bastardize that until it works, right? Whereas like what you're talking about coming a step back and thinking, how do we most effectively communicate what we have to share with these people, and then choose the tools afterwards, is just a far more effective way, and is going to end up in a much more effective and human conversation with those people.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I think Dean Jackson said this. I don't know if you know Dean, but Dean said this one simple concept. He said, you got to treat it like, and I'll never forget he said this, because you got to treat the whole thing like, and I have to remember this, I got these big old front doors in my office and a chair right as you walk in. You got to remember, when you're offering a freebie or come check out my thing, there's a human that's going to walk in with their coupon and saying, I'm here for my free package. I'm here for my free course. I'm here for my free thing. What would you say to them if they walked in front of you? And a lot of people don't look at it that way. Like, I want you to imagine somebody, I'm paraphrasing Dean as he said this, Dean Jackson, but if somebody walks in my front door, hi, welcome to the Human Communications Institute. I'm Michael Bernoff. How can I help you? Yes, here is my coupon for my free subscription to blank. Great. Well, let me show you around the place. Let me show you what's going on. Let me get the package. Sandy from our team will go get your package. Like if we look at it like this, like they're humans. My company's called the Human Communications Institute. That's with an H, but I'm from Jersey, so we say you. It sounds like an accent thing, but it's the Human Communications Institute, because I think the human part has come out of marketing. And if we could bring that back, you'd be busy for the rest of your life. You'll be in a world of your own. That's one thing some of the big boys have figured out that the little people have not. And I know you do that with what you do. You really care about your people.
Absolutely, man. I completely agree. The unfair advantage almost, isn't it? Being able to actually communicate with somebody on that level, because people almost don't expect it, because so many marketers are stuck in this kind of mindset of metrics. Like, what can we do to engineer this? And, over analysis. And I think there's a time for analysis, and there's also a time for sitting back and being creative, right? It's two completely different mindsets.
It's huge. It's the biggest difference in the world is to ask yourself to remember, what am I doing here? And it's funny. I drive my video team nuts because, okay, hold on. What's the point of this video? I'll be like 10 takes in. What was the point of this video? What is the tone I need? Who am I talking to? And I drive them insane. But if we can get clear with that, who am I talking to? What do they want? And how do I make their day better? That's the big thing. So do you sing also?
I used to sing, but no. I used to.
I don't need you to sing right now. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but when you're singing a song at a concert, like I saw Metallica, he was singing to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not just the room. Like, you got a person, you are singing like to a human. Like, when you want to nail a song, does that make sense? You're singing it like to a human. And if all of us could think that we're artists and we want to share that, that's if you're the one behind the camera or behind the writing. If it's just a company, that's another story. But still, there's a human involved.
Absolutely, man. And regards to I think so many people miss that, especially with advertising, which is our realm. People miss the opportunity they've got to connect with people that they really want to connect with. Like, so many people put up this online version of themselves where it's very formulaic and it's probably copied from a bunch of influencers, that we've already spoken about, that are doing well online. I think, okay, well, if they're like that, I'll be like that and it'll work out.
Yep.
But, funny enough, actually, one of my best friends in the world, I actually met through an ad which I made years ago, like when I was getting started off. But before I was even in the advertising business, like I made a crappy ad like on iMovie, just really stupid and daft and humorous, and I threw it up online, and it got quite a bit of attention. And this guy got in touch and said, hey, I love your sense of humor, and like connected like that. And we became great friends. We traveled all over the world together, and like still, meet up whenever we're on the same continent. And the thing that I really take away from that is that, like, anybody, if they become themselves and they allow themselves to be, like whether it's a bit daft or a bit more of themselves or a bit more of something that they might be kind of scared to portray on camera, they can actually do great things in terms of the people they attract, the customers they attract, the kind of people that they actually work with.
Agreed. Yeah, and that's when the more you're you, the easier all this stuff is. I know we hear that a lot, but a lot of times people, they want to be something else, and you do at first. In anything you do have to adopt. Like I had up here is this guy Jim Rohn. This was one of my mentors when I was younger. I don't know if you ever heard of him before, but he was like the original. You don't know if you know who he is, but he's one of my mentors, and I remember he said, like, if you don't know what to say, borrow someone else's stuff to start with, sound like them, because you at least have a direction. Over time, you'll forget what they said and you'll be more you. If in a year from now you're still copying somebody, it doesn't work. But sometimes we got to start. Sometimes we got to look at someone and go, you know what? That 4-day cash machine Frank does, I'll change a couple words. I'll run that thing. Does that make sense? I'll give it a shot. I got to do something. And over time, we adjust and we become more of ourselves. So we all need to model others, but when we become the most ourselves, all of it becomes real. And then your marketing is real. And then you never have to hide or lie or do anything. It's amazing.
100%. So I want to get back onto average sucks and like how, so, like obviously love to get the conversation on marketing, but in terms of like where people are right now, like I know obviously the world's going through a lot of change, a lot of flux without saying any more. And there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of obviously crap going on, but there's a lot of opportunity as well as people potentially looking to re-up their game and stop being so average and start making moves. So what are some realistic first steps you recommend people could take to start working towards that kind of life?
Number one step is you got to ask yourself a question. Are you where you want to be in life? And that's the biggest thing. Your life changes the day you say, I'm not where I want to be. It opens everything up. It's the day you get sober, the day you change things, is like, you got to stop pretending. And a lot of us want things to go back the way they were. They're not. Let's just accept it's not going back. There's a difference between progress and progressive. Again, I'm not talking politics. I'm going to talk about progress. In life, we can't stand still. So the world is forcing us to change. So we're having to have to change. We've got to do something different than what we're doing right now. Like, it has to happen. So my desire for people is they got to accept where it is they are. If they're not where they want to be, the next step is they've got to find someone to help them get there and figure out what it is and let somebody help them get there. So that's what I always tell everybody, because your life, if we talk about your average, everyone's life, I'm going to give the brief synopsis of my book, which everyone should read. I wrote it for people with ADD. You could finish the thing. It's a gorgeous book. You could finish it in 2 hours. The biggest problem I had, it took me 9 years to write it. First night it went out, 100 people emailed me, said they finished it. I'm like, damn it, what do I do now? Read it again. I put 9 years into the problem and read it again. And they're like, I got to make a new book. You're going to love the title of my new book. I'll tell you in a minute. But everyone's got this. This is the 30-second version. We all get to a point in our lives where we say, never again. Never again am I going to be broke. Never again I'll make under 100 grand. Never again I'll be treated bad. Never again I'll be abused. And we mean it. So then we say, but here's what I want. I want to be a millionaire. I want a great relationship. What I want. So we live our lives somewhere between I don't want this and I do want that. But we don't actually get what we want. We just live between it. What controls us and boxes us in is our current identity. Like, how do you see you? So you wake up in the morning and here's how you see you. I'm a guy who wants to be rich. I'm a guy that refuses to be poor. So I'm a business owner and I struggle and I settle. And we build an identity. And the other thing is we strategically put people in our lives, relationships, people, just enough to motivate us, piss us off, excite us to stay who we are. So there's no force in life more powerful than your desire to stay your average. Everything you want in life is on the other side of the want wall of actually getting it. So 3 ways to get there. 1 is ask someone to help you. A lot of courage it takes. 2, get a ladder, get over the wall, figure it out, build books, make them into ladders, take courses, figure it out. Number 3 is outgrow your current situation. And what most people haven't really accepted is you haven't grown yet. Like, you're better than you used to be. Stop giving yourself so much credit for what you've done. Imagine what you can do. And I think that's our biggest problem as entrepreneurs is we become victims of success. You have one funnel, makes you $10,000, makes you $1 million. And then we're like, I'm done. Or you want to do that again. And you don't realize you got to get hustling and struggle again and do it again. So I think most people are stuck being who they are instead of who they're capable of being. It's like we define our lives based on our average, not based on our ability.
Absolutely, man. Like, I mean, it's absolute gold what you're saying. I think so many people are much more capable of so much more in their lives just if they actually choose to believe it. And this is, I was speaking to somebody earlier on today about like how these kind of concepts, the kind of, like you mentioned Tony Robbins concepts and Jim as well. Obviously, he was Tony's mentor as well as yours. Talks about, these kind of ideas of disempowering beliefs and replace them with empowering beliefs. But even that, I always used to think that was quite kind of ethereal and quite loose and not really, you couldn't really get a tangible grasp on it. I think that potentially puts people off, especially in the kind of starting years. But even like the concept of like when you decide that something's doable, you can actually do something, then suddenly it's like you unleash the imagination as to how you start doing it. It's like, okay, cool. So it is possible. Then your brain just suddenly starts finding ways to do it, right?
Agreed. And that's the challenge for people is A, they don't believe they can do it, but B, you're actually okay with where you're at. So there's a day like I was going to be okay as long as okay is okay and okay is still okay if okay is okay. But as okay is not okay, it's not okay anymore. I just say average sucks. So if you're at the gym and like, how'd I do today? Was it your average workout or was it your best? Actually, it was leaning towards my average, because if it is your best, well, then you can't get any better. And that's the problem people have is like, that was your best. Okay, then you're done. That's it. You've maxed out. That's all you get. So I think a lot of people have to accept the fact that you will always have an average in your life. Every successful human being has an average. Every person has an average of what they do, what they make, what they do. The question is the average you have the one you want, or are you settling for something?
I love that message, man. It's absolutely fantastic. So talking about Jim, talking about Jim Rohn, like what was the experience like working with him? And what was it, if there was one kind of big chunk of information or one big realization you had working with him, what would that be? Yeah,
so I met Jim through audio tapes when I was younger. I was in direct sales at a young age. Then I got a chance to meet him and I spent some time with him. And it was interesting. You got two Jims. One was you got Jim who was repeating everything at an event and you sounded like a seminar. And then you actually talk with the guy. And it was very straightforward to the point, and his systems were simple. So the things he would say, just like in the audios, if you want things to change, you've got to change. If you want things to get better, you got to get better. But the one line that he jammed in my head is a very simple one. And it said, success is something you attract by the person you become. What are you attracting? Way before The Secret, way before the law of attraction, what are you attracting? So he was a simple guy, very simple, but very profound, the concepts. A lot of us want to have this really strange idea, but if he would look at the world today, he'd see this idea that we're trying in the States to push $15 minimum wage. He goes, if you want minimum wage, then you're playing to the minimum. That should not be your goal. That should be your starting point. What you have to realize is you will get paid more when you become more valuable. So that was the one thing I remember. I think marketers have to remember as well, business owners, is this one thing he really pushed heavily is like, your income is dependent on your value. Like you're valuable, you're good. Like even in your relationship, if you're not valuable to that other person, they don't need you. And if their religion or their need to stay in a relationship is valuable, maybe they'll stay, but they're halfway out the door. So the question is, are you valuable? Do you wake people up? People go, well, how is, I don't know what kind of music, give me a band that you really like that I would have heard of.
Foo Fighters.
Who's that?
Foo Fighters.
Oh, Foo Fighters. Yeah, love them. Okay, I'm from Arizona, so I used to see them all the time out here. Right. And what's interesting is, the Foo Fighters, they're valuable. There's songs that they play that mean something to me. And if you get like Bruce Springsteen, right? Growing up, I'm from Jersey originally. He means something to somebody. So if you're valuable and you mean something, Piano Man means something to people, the song. So Billy Joel. So if you got a song that means something to somebody, well, then they need you. And that's the other thing is like, how valuable are you? And you should be building a valuable business that is not value in money, but it's valuable to people. And if it's valuable to people, you can have everything. So it's a change in perspective. So that's the quick version. I know I got back to marketing from Jim, but that's to talk to the audience.
No, I like fantastic points, man. Really, really great. And, I think something which in terms of value is something which is unfortunately becoming like a almost controversial subject recently, like without going too much into politics, but, this concept of like people being value and your inherent value. I think it's, people often overlook the fact that you can become more valuable and it can be a good, empowering thing and you can help other people. I don't know whether it's like some people are just kind of have an aversion to the idea of becoming wealthy because they think, they've had all these like, disempowering beliefs installed in them from a young age about like what wealthy people are and rich people ruin the world, etc. But there's something I found is there's so much value for yourself to be found and becoming valuable to other people, right? In not just in terms of a monetary term, but in terms of what you give, in terms of philanthropy, in terms of charity. what you're able to do creatively for other people. It's just, there's a lot to be found for that in people, I think, that isn't necessarily realized.
I think the rich people rule the world is a cop-out. Yes, it is true. You cannot convince me otherwise that the world does not have buttons getting pushed by people with money, because that's money. I mean, that's it. But rich people run the world, and you making hundreds of thousands of dollars or pounds or euros or yen or whatever it is that you make, or Bitcoins, do you know what I'm saying? Hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins would be great. But all that stuff, they're two different things. So here's the question. What do you want for your life? Do you know what I'm saying? So do we want to buy a story that says, I'm not going to get rich or stick my head out there because those are bad people? You could do that. Or I'm going to find a way to build a life that allows me to have really great sushi dinners and go to the beach with my friends, and you're young and go to Ibiza because that matters to you, or donate to charities, or I'm going to make my life comfortable and not stressed because I don't want to bring that stress to my family. So they're not even in the same ballpark. Like I don't want to get so addicted to money. It has nothing to do with you making your life easier and more comfortable. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs need to really get to is, how much more do you need to make a month? This is part of communication that would actually make your life easier. So like I always give everybody this question. If after all your bills are paid, got money for your kids for college, university, you've whatever it is you want, you got your bills paid, you've invested a little money, you're okay. How much more do you need? And most people, it's like an extra $3,000 to $6,000 a month. After all their bills are paid, all their investments are done. So it's like a lot of people want to be millionaires. A lot of you would be very happy if you made $426,000 a year. Again, I'm timing this audio in January of 2021 or whenever this comes out, or February, whatever this is. Do you know what I'm saying? But the point is, most people don't recognize you're so much closer than you think you are. And again, transfer this to your own economics. Like if you make 50 and you're broke, 72, you may be doing better. And that's a big step. Let's get you there. Build a new average that the worst you ever do is 72. Then we'll get 100. The worst you do is 100, and you go from there. Me, it's in millions. I don't ever go below millions, but that's took me to get there. I was broke for years. I used to be happy making 31,000. Yeah. So just a thought.
Absolutely, man. I'm ratcheting up that level as well. Like creating a new what's realistic for you, and then a new what's an absolute must for you is such a more realistic way of doing it, right? So. Huge. In terms of like how people, so obviously you got the book, you got Average Sucks, which is really easy to Google, right? But in terms of like, if people wanted to go a bit further and like learn from you, how can people get in touch and how can people get involved with that?
Okay. You can find me anywhere. I definitely get the book. We're doing something super cool right now. As a marketer, you're probably going to slap me for telling you this, but we got a thing called the Average Sucks Challenge. It's done on Zoom. I showed you our studio earlier. It's ridiculous. We've got a crazy HD all over the world. I do it every single month. We're doing a program called the Average Sucks Challenge. And you can go to averagesuckschallenge.com, not average sex, average sucks challenge. Just want to make a joke. Put it out there, maybe a different website, right? But check out the challenge. We're doing something cool. You can get an opportunity to get our book there, VIP experience. If you want it, check it out. The reason I say smack me when you go through what you'd call a funnel, what I'd call it a communication mechanism, right? When you go through it, you take a peek, you're going to say, wow, you probably shouldn't do that. Do you know what I'm saying? That's too much you're giving away. But here's what I believe. I'm so good at what I do and we help people so much. And the challenge is about how to play at the highest possible level that I know I'm going to help you, the people listening and their friends, that I'm willing to give because I know how the world works. It's all going to work the other direction. So you can get the book that way at theaveragesuckschallenge.com or go to Average Sucks, get the book, go to Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. What's your bookstore in town? You can get it at your bookstore. I don't know. Do you even have bookstores anymore? But
anymore.
I don't even know if they have them anymore, but you can get it anywhere in the world. Target, Walmart, Kmart, everything, whatever the hell is open these days, you can get the book. But I'd love for people to read it, and then they can get a hold of me through Google or Facebook or anything else, Instagram.
That's amazing, man. Well, yeah, we'll make sure that all the links are in and around the podcast and on the website. Anyone listening, like I cannot recommend Michael's work enough. Like he's helped some incredible people. I know he doesn't want to name drop right here, but you like the who's who of internet marketing for one. So, Michael, thank you so much for sharing your time, your wisdom. Really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it, brother. And thank you for having me on. It's an honor. And go play above average, guys. Make it happen.
Thanks, man.
This has been the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow. For more viral marketing secrets and to get detailed cliff notes on all episodes, visit viralbydesign.net.